This is Ryan Durden, and you're listening to Momentum Media's Success Talk. Today on the show, we have radical sales coach Lucas Barra. He's a sales coach that empowers sales professionals and entrepreneurs to close more sales. To find out more about Lucas, visit his website at www.radicalsalescoaching.com. So Lucas, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So Lucas Barra, I run a sales coaching company called Radical Sales Coaching based in San Diego, California. I work with entrepreneurs and sales organizations to empower them to double the business that they're bringing in. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, big time sportsaholic, and that sort of morphed into this journey of creating my own sales coaching business to help folks. I used to work in sales for a high-level executive coaching company, and also in the sports industry, helping collegiate athletes to get recruited to play high school sports. So I have a very diverse background that I bring, and I also like to do things outside of this, like surf, yoga, hang out with friends. So
nice.
Definitely like to enjoy life. So I appreciate you having me on today.
Cool, man. So we have Lucas Barra on the show today. Lucas Barra has a sales coaching business, and his goal is to get people to the next level. So tell us a little bit about your business and how you help your clients.
Yeah, great question. So my business, I meet with my clients in person or typically with a high level of personal attention. So I meet with them in San Diego, and they meet with me like twice a month in person for an hour, and we're working on anything from helping them to work on their sales scripts, honing their goals, because we both know how important it is to make sure that you stay on top of your goals, especially as an entrepreneur or a sales professional, where the numbers really dictate how you end up doing on a long-term basis.
Right.
And really providing a level of accountability where I text clients and really provide more of a service. Like the way that I see my business is like we're like workout partners or financial advisors, in the sense that I'm really bringing a business that's about the personal connection for entrepreneurs and sales professionals to help them develop. And then I also run mastermind groups for entrepreneurs, sales professionals, and rolling out various aspects of that within the business that we have. So there's a variety of different angles, all with the single purpose of helping entrepreneurs and sales professionals to bring in more business by meeting with them, coaching them, and so forth.
So everybody has their own definition of what success is. What would you say your definition of success is, or what does success mean to you?
Yeah, so success means to me that I've helped millions of sales professionals and entrepreneurs to turn their dreams into reality. That's really why I believe that I'm here, is to make that happen, knowing that I left the world a better place, and when they put me in the casket, that I did everything that I could to achieve that mission.
What's your definition of failure?
Definition of failure, it's a learning opportunity. So it's something that I don't know if I really like. For me, definition of failure is non-existent, because I really believe that the best learning opportunities come from failure, and failure is the best thing for you. I've honestly, you can probably relate to this, I've learned the best lessons from my failures from my mistakes. So I really think failure, by definition, is like the launching stone, the launching point for success.
Right. Definitely. What would you say your biggest fear is?
Oh boy, not fulfilling my potential.
Yeah.
I mean, that really scares the crap out of me, because I know that I've been given a gift and how precious this life is. Like I've had family members who've been sick. I've seen a lot of things that made me realize how precious life is, and like that's the thing that keeps me up at night. Is I always am worried, like, what's going to happen if I don't fulfill my potential, and could have done more.
What would you say, growing up, who was your biggest motivation? Who inspired you the most?
It kind of changed. So initially it was Michael Jordan. I'm from Michael Jordan and Jerry Maguire, since I'm from Chicago and I love sports. I wanted to be like Mike, except for I'm 5'10" and 170 and didn't quite have the same athletic ability. And Jerry Maguire was like, that started my whole journey. I mean, it was kind of funny how it worked out. I quit my job and went out kind of like Jerry did in a different way on my own to make this business happen. And then as I transitioned and got more mature, it was my dad. I mean, I'm really fortunate. I have a great dad. He's a great role model who's been successful himself. So I'm very fortunate to have someone that I can go to get advice and to lean on to continue growing in my entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, definitely. You're a big sports guy. How do you feel sports had an effect on you going into business, like later on down the road?
Oh man, so that's a great question. Nobody's ever asked me that before. I would say it honestly created the fire, like for me to grow. I never was really great at sports. Like I sucked. But I never put in the work. And I really, I was, my sort of story around sports was that I quit when things got hard. Yeah. And I always wonder what would have happened had I really put my mind to some of these things. And so I had a podcast before, as I was sharing with you, and it took me a long time to realize, like, that was a bad habit of mine, was quitting before things really got an opportunity to succeed. So the greatest lesson that I would have been able to take from success, and it goes back to that definition of failure, is that you have to be committed to the process of seeing what you're doing out, because only through commitment can you really give yourself a chance to succeed. And we see that in sports all the time. The teams with the highest level of commitment, like the Patriots or the old Bulls teams, they always win because they never are out of the fight. They're always going to make it happen.
That's it. So what would you say your biggest success is so far?
Biggest success so far? Oh, man. Biggest success so far? Man, I don't even know.
My job is to stump you, man.
That's a great question. I mean, I don't really even, I feel like I haven't had it yet. I mean, to me, my greatest success so far is my Mastermind Group. Because I'm really proud of my members who are in my group, and they took a chance on me as well. I mean, I started this group from scratch, and you look at me, I don't have gray hair. I don't have a lot, things that you could say, well, hey, we can 100% guarantee this is going to be successful. So that makes me really proud, because I know that they're putting in the work and they bring a lot to the table, and they're engaged, and that's what really fills me up. So I'm really more proud of those people, and then myself. I mean, for taking the chance to start that and to keep going, like with the learning curve of learning how to put that together and to stay committed.
Right, that's big.
Even though I'm not the quote ideal goal for it yet, through the process has been great for me. So I'm really proud of how far I've come and we've come as a group, and there's way more that we can do.
How many people do you have in your mastermind group as of right now?
7 and 12. I've had anywhere between 7 and 9 this year, so there's been a bit of an inflection, and I'm shooting for 12. So we're going to get to 12 on a longer term standpoint.
So tell us a little bit about your mastermind group. Is it obviously I've read the book Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, so I know where the concept comes from. But what do you guys do specifically in your mastermind group? And if somebody were to want to join your mastermind group, could they?
Well, okay, so 2 great questions. So first of all, how my group works is we physically meet once a month in person in San Diego. And so, for example, I have a certain level of experience that I look for in the individuals that I bring to the group. So my quote unquote job is to be the facilitator of the group. I'm looking for people who are in their late 20s, early 30s, who are green and growing. In other words, they want to learn from other people, because it's like, as we both know, you need to be around the right sorts of people who are open-minded and growing. And so that's really one of the fundamental principles of a mastermind, is being able to surround yourself with people you can learn from. Yep. And so in our monthly meetings, let's say like you're an insurance agent or an entrepreneur, you get to bring topics or challenges that you're having in your business. Like, for example, we pose in a question like, how do I scale my business? Mm-hmm. And so then everybody else in our group from those different entrepreneurial backgrounds who's a similar level of experience will ask you, well, how are you doing it now? What are you not seeing that you need to be doing? What have you not been willing to confront that you need to confront? So it turns into a conversation where we really roll up our sleeves and everybody is there to give that person feedback, and then we give accountability that we put in place, and we say, hey, if you don't do this by this date, you have to give money, or you have to do this and that. And it really helps our members, because it's great to talk about things, you also need to take action. And so that's the principle behind the accountability. And so each of the members typically gets an opportunity to talk about what they're going through, where they could use some help from the group. So that's the biggest chunk. And then I have speakers who come in to talk to our group, who are more like 20s and 30-year-old focused. They're like still on the come up.
Yeah.
Because I really want to bring people into our group to talk that are relatable. I mean, if like Grant Cardone approached me to speak to our group, like I obviously wouldn't be opposed, but like
right.
I really want to make it as relatable as possible. So I bring in speakers, and then we have little mini workshops within our group. So we had an objection handling workshop where we work through all of the different intricacies of how you handle an objection, how you have a better sales conversation. So that's what I'm really there is. I'm the facilitator of the meeting to help put in those different exercises and really see the growth of our group. And then from the standpoint, not anybody can get involved. So if someone does want to get involved, you can go to my website, which is www.radicalsalescoaching.com. RADICAL salescoaching.com. I'm sure we'll get that linked up in the show notes. And there's a little tab there. You can't just join, though. It's not like one of those deals where I tell this to people on the phone all the time. It's like, look, if I wanted to sign you up today and have you sign a contract, I couldn't do it because you need to meet the other members of my group. I need to get to know you. I need to understand your situation. Yeah. Because you're coming to a group like this, and like we don't, like your main need is for online marketing, and we're focusing on prospecting and generating referrals. It's like you need to go find another group.
Right.
And so that's what, from the success that I've had so far, that's been one of the biggest learning lessons for me, and one of the biggest learning lessons for the audience too, is understanding like where your folks are coming to for value, and not necessarily needing the sale, really focusing on bringing in like-minded people who need the same sort of solution and helping them all to solve it.
That's it, man. That's awesome. What are you how'd you get into coaching? Like what's your story behind that?
Yeah, so it found me and I found it. So crazy story, man. I mean, so when I was working in sports sales, I got recruited to work for this executive coaching company here in San Diego. And there's a really bizarre part of this story where one of my best friends in high school here in San Diego, his dad used to be the CEO of this company I worked for. I had no idea. I had no freaking clue. And so eventually I got hired to work there, and I mentioned him, and I was like 23, 24, so I was like, oh, I know so-and-so.
Yeah.
And people were like, because this is like a $100+ million company, and they're like, who's this freaking kid?
Yeah. Throwing
around the CEO's name, and like I've been hanging out with his son, like he's one of my best friends still to this date.
Yeah.
And so they're like, who is this kid? And so like 2 weeks into my time there, they called. I had a meeting with the CEO. They called me into his office, and my boss was like, I saw your calendar, you were meeting with the CEO. Like, what'd you do?
That's funny.
And so, I was like, I don't know. Like I was explaining to him, I'm like, look, like I used to come home like in high school, like from parties, and they would just be coming home.
Yeah.
Like they come home when we would come home. Like I know a different side of this guy,
Right.
and so he invited me in his office. All the salespeople were like, "Who is this entitled brat sort of deal?"
Right.
And I went in, and it was so bizarre. I never forget this moment for the rest of my life, because this is how I knew like I was in the right spot. He opened his closet, and so my dad's dad was an immigrant from New York, and he started a clothing store from scratch when he immigrated over here, called Barra of Italy. And so he used to make ties, clothes, and I mean, he's honestly, my dad always says I'm a lot like him. And so what happened was, when the CEO opened up his like clothing drawer, and he pulled out his tie, right? He shows me the tie. He said, look at this tie. It says Barra of Italy on the back. So he had one of my grandfather's ties. He used to live in New York when my grandfather had his store, and he had shopped at the store. How freaking bizarre is that?
That is crazy. And you and his son were best friends.
Right.
That's
and
crazy.
Like, it happened through sports. We had no freaking idea.
Yeah.
And so, get
That's
this,
nuts.
my aunt. So he used to work at Fox. The CEO used to be a bigwig at Fox. My aunt used to work with him at Fox. My dad's sister used to work with him at Fox.
Yeah.
I also did not know that. So there was just this crazy connection. Nice. I literally sat there. I was like, I don't know what this is right now. I know that like I'm supposed to be here, like for some like reason, and so I like really was like all in, because I realized like, okay, this is clearly happening for a reason. And then I discovered that I had this obsession with personal development, and I'm analytical by nature. Yeah. So I constantly was thinking about improving, and then I stumbled on Lewis Howe's podcast, the School of Greatness.
School of Greatness?
Yeah, School of Greatness, yeah, exactly. And I just remember him talking about like finding your dream, and so I got obsessed with finding out what my dream was. And there was always part of me that was like, I question authority. I just had this personality that like I'm obsessed with the next level, never happy with the amount of money that I was making. Like I didn't like being told like what I could do. And so I quickly figured out that I wasn't going to be able to stay in a traditional job, and went to work on figuring out like what I could do. And so once I started really digging into this thing, that's why I started my podcast, because it was really when I look back, my way of figuring out like what I wanted to do long term. And I realized that like one of my strengths was coaching, was motivating people. Like I coached my mom, like it irritated the hell out of her. I didn't realize it. And so when I look back, I was like, since I'm very analytical, I saw the pattern of this coaching thing, and I saw my success that I was having in sales, and I thought, I really think I've got something that I could put together here. I don't really know. Yeah. And I reached out to one of my buddies who happened to be a high performer, financial advisor for Northwestern Mutual, and a few other guys said, hey, let me work with you for free and see if this thing is real. And they all gave me good feedback. And so I went from doing it for free on the side to like, I was doing it, Saturdays and Sundays. So that was like my quote unquote, my passion test. Right. And it slowly evolved over time, where I went from free to paid to the point where I got close to the cliff, and I was like really nervous about jumping. And then I finally just got so sick of it, and my gut feeling was like, hey, this is going to work. Like, you just need to trust yourself. And I've been working 7 days a week for like 2 years. Yeah. So I needed to do something just to have my focus in one place. And I finally, like in the span of like 20 seconds, I decided, I told my boss I quit. Wow. I resigned, and then I went out and just started making my business happening, and really like learning the coaching business as I went.
That's awesome. That is crazy. So if you can go back and tell if you were to go back and tell your past self something, what would it be?
I would tell my past self, one, to not be so hard on yourself, because I feel like I've got this like drive that never stops, and to really trust the process more, because typically you work that hard, things work out for you, and to trust your gut and the learning process, because a lot of like my best learning experiences, best things have always come from when I trust my gut, and I don't worry about like having mistakes happen or having failure happen. I just go with the process. So I would say have a lot more I think the bigger thing is for me is have a lot more confidence in yourself. I really like did not have a ton of confidence in myself, and even though I should have, for all intents and purposes, for everything that I accomplished. And I wish I would have just said, you need to have more confidence in yourself. That's like the same thing that makes you laugh, makes you cry. Yeah. That's the reason that also made me do it. So it's like, understand that contrast and understand how to use it to your advantage.
Right. That's great. That's good. That's really good. So can you give us some of the strategies that you use when you coach people?
Yeah. So one of my favorites is get to know the person.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is everybody's got different ways that they're motivated, and one of the things that I see all the time is somebody who's trying to sell someone or trying to coach someone the way that they'd want to be coached or sold to. And this is a big mistake, because they need to be motivated their way. And so one of the first things that I'm always like wanting to do is figure out, I was talking to one of my clients about this morning. I was like, look, we're learning about each other. Like, I'm learning how I need to motivate you, whether it's monetary, whether it needs to be more positive. So that's one strategy I would give, that I would share with everybody. Like, really look at like how you're selling and how you're coaching, because if you're doing it one way, you're putting people in a box, and you're going to have a bigger attrition rate. And then another area that I really use, I have this thing called an activity management sheet. I use my clients, who basically tracks their numbers on a daily basis. So like, let's say you have a goal, right? And it's, you say you want to do $1 million in revenue. Well, okay, so let's reverse engineer that to literally back to this moment. And what activities are you not doing? What are you doing that we need to implement on the sheet or whatever you're using to track your numbers on a daily basis to create what I call the daily non-negotiables. In other words, for the important tasks that you need to do every day, whether it's work out, eat 3 meals, hit a certain number of calls, you can get the momentum going. So that's another big strategy, is understanding, like, for you, what are your daily non-negotiables that you need to have for yourself in order to create more success in your life and your business.
There it is. That's it. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a sports agent. However, you know what's funny is I really believe I ended up where I was supposed to be anyways. Like, I went through this weird, I go back to the quitting thing, I went through this weird phase where I was, when I moved back home from college, I was still working on doing the sports thing, and it was hard, right? And quote unquote, for everyone who can't see me making the quotes in the video right now, I didn't understand the process, and that was like my habit. So I quit on my dream, like, initially, because I didn't realize like what the dream meant. And that's really important. That's almost something I would also give back to my younger self too, is to understand, like, when you chase a dream, what that means, because everyone talks about like being passionate about what you do and loving what you do. There's also a complete other element to it where you're like, life throws tests at you, things seem hard, your brain like screws with you. Yeah. In order to see if like you're really ready to be able to take on the dream. So that's where I realized that I didn't want to chase my sports agent dream. I just didn't see myself really like wanting to go to law school. Right. But this whole other side of me is like, I loved interacting with people. I loved sort of the representation aspect of being an agent, and the Jerry Maguire side of things, like, from what I saw. So it's funny how that worked out, because I really believe that I ended up in like the place where I should have been all along, because this is really more of a reflection of like my obsessions of who I am. And I mean, I'm going to own the San Diego Chargers. Like, one of my goals, like, to bring back the Chargers
Right.
to San Diego.
Yeah.
So there's a part of me that, like, I love sports, man. Like, I was so pumped. I don't know if you saw the game last night that UMBC beat. They beat Virginia. It was first time ever in history, 16-1. So there's like, for me,
messed up my bracket.
Messed up your bracket?
He messed up my bracket. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, dude, messed up everyone's bracket. Like, nobody.
Arizona lost too.
Yeah, Arizona lost. I thought Arizona was going to go all the way, man.
Yeah, I had them going all the way too. I got my bracket right here, all the way. AZ.
Yeah,
nope.
That's why I said it was going to be Arizona or Virginia. So I'm glad I didn't fill out a bracket this year.
I'm out $20, man.
Yeah, exactly. I would have been out because I talk a lot of smack because I typically am pretty good at, like, picking these scenarios. So to go back to, like, this thing, like, I think that my life is working for me because I know at some point, like, I'm going to have some sort of collaboration. I feel like, and you'll get this as well, and a lot of entrepreneurs get it. Athletes and entrepreneurs understand each other because there's a very similar sacrifice. There's a very similar level of deal. So, like, I know that at some point that's going to, even if it's before owning the Chargers, that's going to come full circle for me. Maybe, hell, I pull, Gary Vee and have some sort of sports agency tied to my company. I don't know, but I know that there's always will be part of me that just, like, gravitates towards sports because I think that they're very similar in terms of how they work.
I'm actually a Chargers fan as well.
Okay, nice.
My grandpa was coach for the Chargers for 23 years. He was the running back and wide receiver coach for 23 years.
When was that? Like, who were the running backs when he coached? Do you remember?
Yeah, I'll show you. So he's got his book on Amazon. It's called Paying the Price.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that on your Instagram. That's cool.
It's he coached from in the 70s and the 80s. So guys like Kellen Winslow, what's his name? The quarterback, 14. Fouts, yep, coached those guys. So I mean, yeah, and he came up with Pro Throw at UCLA. So his book is actually it's a really good book, especially if you're into sports. It's on Amazon. It's like $20, but
all right.
That's my grandpappy.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, that's cool. Did you decide to stick with the Chargers from San Diego to LA? Did you have any regret over that? At
first, I was kind of upset, and I was like, I don't want to have anything to do with them. But as time passed a little bit, I couldn't throw away my jerseys and burn my stuff, man. Come on. So I'm a Chargers fan, diehard. I was upset for a minute, but we're good now. We're good.
I feel the same way. Like, we're the same person in that, because, like, I legitimately, like, once I saw Phillip Rivers back on the field, it was like seeing, like, your ex, right? Like, you have an ex-girl and you love her, and then you see her again and you're like, oh my God, I forgot how much I loved you. Like, that's how that's how I felt about, like, Phillip, because I just love Phillip Rivers. I mean, he's a great example for anybody who wants to know how to, like, run your life. And I saw him on the field. I saw Gates. I was like, dude, regardless of what ownership did to us, like, I can't not root for these guys. Like, I like these guys too much, and I don't want to be bandwagon. And I tried rooting for the Bears because I'm from Chicago, but I just, like, I couldn't get into it. It was like, it didn't make sense to me. Like, I only knew, like, the Chargers. And like, it just, I love the powder blue and all the things that come along with it. So I mean.
Yep, I know how you feel. I have a little cousin who's playing for the Green Bay Packers right now, and so I try to follow them. I mean, I'm always gonna follow whatever team he plays on, but I was like this close to being like, no more Chargers. I'm gonna go Green Bay, like, all the way, but I couldn't do it. Just same thing. I couldn't do it. But so a couple more questions. So, who is your favorite superhero and why?
God, who's my favorite favorite superhero and why? Batman. And Batman's my favorite superhero because of The Dark Knight. And the reason I love The Dark Knight is that, here's the story. In The Dark Knight, I think the second one's called The Dark Knight, right?
The Dark Knight Rises.
Rises, right? So what I love about that version of Batman is it's at one point in the movie, Christian Bale and Batman ends up in this like pit, right? Or wait, no, that's the third one. That's the third one. So that one's the one with Bane. So there's one with the third one. He ends up in this pit, right? And so Batman ends up like having to like rebuild himself because he's gotten soft. And he eventually jumps out of the pit. So for all of you who know it, who've seen the movie, he jumps out of the pit. And so for me, I really love that because I think that in any level of success, you go through a phase like that where you have to jump and keep jumping and keep reinventing yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I really admire about Batman, that he's always like, the dude who doesn't need all the credit, doesn't need all the recognition, he's badass, and then he has it all together and rises from the ashes, which I really like. He's about the people first.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
That's what it's about, man. So where can everybody find you?
So everybody can find me at www.radicalsalescoaching.com. You can email me too. It's also Lucas, Lucas, at radicalsalescoaching.com. I'm on Facebook, Lucas Barra. Last name spelled B as a boy, A as an M, RRA. Also Radical Sales Coaching on Facebook, Instagram. If you look up Lucas Barra on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, you'll find all the pages to check out what I'm doing.
Awesome, man. So that's all I got for you today. But I definitely want to stay in contact with you, man. We need to link up, and when I'm in San Diego, go out, have a cup of coffee or something. I'm out there like every other month, so
Man.
all my family's out there.
Yeah.
Definitely. But anything else you want to leave with the viewers and followers? And
yeah, so my last thing is like, you're capable of more than you think. And that's so important because we're all trained to think a certain way, and like, I'm not special. There's no one who's like really that special. You just decided to do something, and so that's what makes the difference is doing something about it, and you're capable of more than you think.
That's it, man. So we have Lucas Barra, Radical Sales Coaching. So check him out, Lucas Barra, radicalsalescoaching.com.
That's right.
That's it. So again, it's Momentum Media. This is Ryan Durden. It's been real. Peace.
See all the time is somebody who's trying to sell someone or trying to coach someone the way that got different ways trying to coach someone the way that